Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 378 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by a good friend of mine, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers, former heavyweight world title challenger. How you doing this week, my man?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. It's going to be, I guess, a bit of a short show, really. Going to dive straight into the review part of the show, as always. Just one card to go over. Tremaine Williams' fight that was set to take place in Ghana ended up falling through last minute. Surprise, surprise. So just the one card to go over. It took place at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. I think it was live on Showtime pay-per-view. Let's go to the undercard firstly. Going to start here with former world champion Lamont Peterson. 35-6 with a draw. He was TKO'd in round 4 against Michael Ogundo. Eddie, you've unmuted. I'm guessing you probably saw a clip. Did you see that or not?
No, I didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Oh shit, no. What happened?
Okay, so yeah, like I say, Lamont Peterson coming back to the ring after almost 4 years out of it. Gets knocked out by Michael Ogundo, who's now 17-16. Michael Ogundo picks up his first win there. Well, put it this way, he'd won one fight in his last 9 prior to that. And that was against a guy who was 0-18. Honestly, one of the biggest upsets of the year, and we're only a few days in, it could potentially be the winner. I know that obviously Peterson come back from that inactivity, Eddie, but yeah, I mean,
how did he look?
I didn't see it. I saw the stoppage. I saw the stoppage. I think he was down. He got back up, and then he took a few good shots, and the referee jumped in, but he was all over the place. I mean, that's got to be it. Anthony Peterson was supposed to be on the card. His fight fell through. I bet Lamont Peterson probably wishes his fight had fallen through, but this was a guy, Eddie, who was stopped in 2 rounds by Montana Love, just to draw comparisons. Stopped in 2 rounds by Edward Troyanovsky. Stopped in 1 round by Cameron Crowe, who, is not a fantastic fighter. I think he's about 14 and I think he's got more losses than wins these days, actually. But yeah, anyway, to put it into perspective, an unbelievable upset there. And I should also mention, this guy is 40 years of age, so he's older than Lamont Peterson, 5'6", Kenyan.
Wow. There's just nothing else I can say to it. It just shows that, when you're gone for how long? How long was he out for? About
almost 4 years.
So when you stepped away so much, for so long, and obviously look at me, I'm doing the same thing. But when you step away for so long, it's not even so much that he didn't have enough or there's nothing left so much as that. It's just sometimes when you step away, you lose that animalistic, mentality and that. And even though I'm a nice guy, those instincts are like, it's not the same. So, your mind's not right going in there. You're completely domesticated. You know what I'm saying? It's like a domesticated lion or something, and going in there and then, I don't know if that's the same thing, because they'll always revert back, but it's just so unfortunate, man. I hate to hear that. You know what I mean? It's disappointing. And then it's like making me like, oh, wait a second, what the hell going on? And I'm gonna have to have somebody that ain't even got a pulse, because I ain't taking no chances, man. But it is what it is. Sometimes things like this happen.
Yeah, like I say, Lamont Peterson stopped there in round 4. It was only a 6-rounder, and stopped there in round 4 against the 40-year-old Michael Ogundo, whose nickname is Tyson. 5'6", this guy is, from Kenya, based in Massachusetts. Wow, an absolute shocker there, and definitely a contender for upset of the year. I'm sure I'll be mentioning it again as a shortlist, if not the winner at the end of the year. Moving up the card, prospect Brandon Lee, now 27-0, a TKO for him in round 4 against Diego Luque, who's now 21-11 with 2 draws. Like I say, 4th round TKO. I expected Brandon Lee to get another knockout win. Good prospect, carries on impressing every fight, really. Demetrius Andrade, now 32-0, a unanimous decision for him over 10 rounds in his first fight up at super middleweight against Damon Nicholson, big puncher. 26-5 with a draw now, Damon Nicholson. This was a fight that I did not think would be competitive beforehand. Some people did. I don't think the bookies even felt it was going to be competitive. Obviously, Andrade was the massive favourite, but I expected Andrade to win on points. Obviously, his first fight up at the weight, not really known for his power across any of his weight classes, but you got to remember this guy was at 154, now at 168, obviously stopped off at 160 as well for a while. I didn't expect him to knock out Damon Nicholson, who I think had actually been stopped more times than not in his losses column. It's weird with Nicholson. Sometimes he shows a good beard. He showed a good beard against Edgar Berlanga and so on, so I didn't think Andrade would stop him. And to be honest with you, the odds on that, for Andrade to win on points, you could almost double your money just there. Not many times in the past can we say that an Andrade fight was particularly exciting. I felt, though, this one did have its moments. I mean, I love when we see Demetrius Andrade on the front foot, because he obviously can fight going backwards and going forwards. And a lot of the time, he does like to sit back, and he's not very aggressive. But when he comes forward, he's a really exciting fighter, I think, Eddie. I'll get your opinion as well, but he was just way too classy for Nicholson. Andrade did go down, we should mention, in round 5. It was ruled a slip. It was a bit of a weird one. Andrade definitely wasn't hurt, but he was kind of hit with a straight right hand to the belly button, it looked, and he went down. Never a shot that would naturally put you down, especially as it kind of landed as he was taking a step backwards. So I initially did think it was probably a slip. In reflection, it might have been slightly maybe a push, but yeah, Andrade, when I watched that replay, was crouching down a bit too low, and as the punch landed, so it was a bit of a difficult one to call. But like I said, it didn't give it a knockdown, and I think he won every round. I think it was a shutout in the end. Too good for Nicholson.
Yeah. I was me and Ant were meeting at a place to go watch the fight. And it took me a lot longer, not a lot longer, but it took me a little longer than expected to get there, with parking and all that. So by the time I got up there, I actually didn't get a chance to see that when I came.
So you're not good at parking your new car?
Yeah, I'm great at parking it, but it just so happens I wasn't. there was a line at the lot too, so it kind of threw me off. But I heard about how the fight looked, and what he did. And I saw like a couple of the replays. I'm going to actually watch it because I wanted to see him. That's one of the fights I wanted to see. But I came in on the Rashidi Ellis fight.
Okay.
Is when I started watching. But just in watching Demetrius Andrade before, I mean, he's an extremely talented dude. 168 gives him the freedom of not having to worry about the weight as much, so he can come in strong. He's already started he's been at a lower weight, so he's probably a bit faster. The pace a little bit faster. So I expect good things from him at those weights, but there's going to be some challenges. There's some good guys up there. So I'm just looking forward to what's going to happen in the future with him.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. Obviously a great fighter. And like I say, when he's on the front foot, I think that's when we see the best of him. But yeah, there's some fights that I'm not sure are safe fights for him. Obviously the likes of Caleb Plant's a tough fight for him, David Benavidez, Callum Smith, those kind of guys, big guys. They're going to be challenging, man. Anyway, moving up to that fight that you just mentioned, Rashidi Ellis now 24-1, heartbreak for him, a majority decision loss over 12 rounds to Ramon Villa, who's now 26-1. I thought that Ellis would win on points, but I decided to just keep it safe and bet on him to win just by any method. But I wanted to cover myself because I'd seen that Villa had 24 wins by knockout out of his 25 wins, so I thought he could perhaps land one and maybe he'll knock him out. He was about a 10-1 shot to get the knockout, so I just put something small on him to cover me. But there's no way in the world I felt that Villa would actually get the decision, because I thought if it's going to go the distance, Ellis is going to be too classy for him. But I was wrong, and Villa manages to get the majority decision. It was a fight in which most people felt Ellis boxed really well at the beginning and up to the midway point, and then Villa started to come on strong, which I don't think many people expected. Obviously managed to drop Ellis late on. Am I right in saying he might have gone down twice, I think, in one round? I can't remember exactly what round that was now, but it closened up the scorecards. But still, I think most people felt Ellis deserved to just nick it, but heartbreak for him. I mean, those knockdowns, he did well to get up from the first one, actually. It was a huge shot, but I mean, he loses there. Those knockdowns, obviously, that 10-7 round cost him the fight.
Yeah, he actually got dropped twice in the 12.
Oh, it was a 12th and final, okay.
Yeah, I think he got 12. Yeah, it was 12 and 12. Hey, me and Ant were both there watching it. And me and Ann said the same thing because we saw the first 6-7 rounds, how he was, jabbing sharp and he was looking great, speed, you could see it. And I was like, yo. And then we saw the guy come on a little bit, and I think it was the 8th round maybe, 7th or 8th round maybe toward the end. We seen him kind of like start to come on a little bit. And you could see that Ellis was a little bit like, not tired, but stressed. You understand what I'm saying? Like he was really going through, like eventually it was going like his tank was going to start to get a little empty. So me and Ed both said, man, by the 9th round, I think was what we said, he's going to be in a real fight. Sure enough, 9th round comes, he was just trying to survive. It seemed like one of those rounds. Like he was the guy was on his tail the entire time, and I think. And we were watching, I think, the 11th round, was it the 11th? One of those rounds. And, I think Steve Farhad gave to Rashidi Ellis. And I was saying that's a close round. If they give it to Roman Villa, right?
Yeah.
Then he could win, possibly, not necessarily win, but he could be a draw. The scorecard, especially with those 2 knockdowns in that last round. And we knew it, and I knew it was going to happen. I could see it because Rashidi Ellis was working so hard early on, all them flashy shots and all the movement and different stuff he was doing. It wasn't like he was doing it and embossing the distance so much going forward and holding the guy off with his power. He couldn't keep him off with the power, even though he did kind of buzz him at one point. He couldn't keep him off him. So when that happened, it was like, the knockdown came not so much as a shock to me. And it was like, I was just hoping for Rashidi Ellis that he was able to finish. You know what I mean? Because the guy was on him and he dropped him again at the end. And I was thinking, if any of those cards were flipped, because there was like a round or two that was close, it was up in the air, that could have went to him or Rashidi Ellis. If you decide to give it to him, there's possibly a draw in there. Because I still thought Rashidi Ellis probably should have got the decision. But it was so close that if with those knockdowns and that one round, it was a flip round. And then, sure enough, I was watching. I was looking at the decision. I was like, why should they get that fight to this guy? And sure enough, they called it out. I was like, yo, it was a shock, but it wasn't a shock. You ever heard those kind of things? If that makes sense. But it just, I knew it could happen, and then it did. And I was like, damn, it's crazy because just me watching the fight and watching how hard he was working, I was like, what goes up must come down. And the way he fights, and he doesn't really have a lot of pop, like a whole bunch of power, is going to be tough toward the end for him. And sure enough, that's what happened. Villa gets the decision. That was crazy, though.
Yeah, it really was. And for some reason, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but I mix up two fighters massively. Like, if I haven't seen much of you and there's another fighter that I haven't seen much of, sometimes I just merge them together. So for some mad reason, I don't know why this happens, but I have completely confused... it's so embarrassing. They're not even in the same weight class, but I've completely confused Rashidi Ellis with Rais Aleem. And I do not know why, but yeah, I've got them two as one person, and I was like, damn, he lost. Like, he was like well ranked and stuff, and then I'm like, wait, no. So it's a bit mad, but I think Aleem's like a super bantamweight, so embarrassing for me. But yeah, tough stuff there for Rashidi Ellis. Moving up the card once again, Jaron Ennis, Eddie, now 30-0. Doesn't get the knockout this time, of course. He gets a win unanimously over 12 rounds for the interim IBF World Welterweight title against Karen Chakadzian, who's now 21-2. How do I approach this one? I mean, I think, Eddie, on last week's show, you said it probably wouldn't go past 2 or 3 rounds. I believe I actually made the statement I would put my house on him to win this fight by knockout. It's definitely going to happen. I went and bet on him to win within 6, within 4, and I think even within 1 and 2. And obviously, unbelievably, he goes the distance. Now, 3 things I want to get into. 1, if this was Virgil Ortiz putting in this performance and going the distance, I know there's a little bit of a there's a bit of an expectancy with Ortiz more than there is Ennis in terms of getting the knockout, because Ortiz has got that 100% streak, and for that reason we expect him to win by knockout every single time. Some people think Ennis is better, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but we expect a knockout machine with 100% knockout ratio to get the knockout every time. Ennis, obviously, 29 fights in, so he's had about 10 more than Ortiz, but he also is well up there with the knockouts. I think he had about 27 KOs, so doesn't have 100%, but close enough. But again, he's not in a position where we expect a stunning knockout every single time he's in the ring. So for him to not get the knockout here, I'm just wondering, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here, just wondering what the people would be saying if this was Virgil Ortiz, because for me it was a very underwhelming performance from Ennis. Chakadzian, although I don't know, there seems to be a lot of people saying, he was moving around the ring running. I felt, obviously he was on his feet a lot, but a lot of the time he was standing in front of Ennis. And there was times where they were trading. Ennis got the better of it. I probably didn't give Chakadzian a round. I don't think his punch output was very good or very high. But Ennis was... it's a massive thing in boxing, man. Especially for someone who can punch like he does and all the fundamentals that he's got. I didn't think he did a great job at all of closing... what's the word? Yeah, closing... I've completely lost it. Cutting off the ring,
I was about to say cutting off the ring.
My mind did a fart there. I completely lost what it was. But yeah, his cutting off the ring was just not there.
And there was a lot of heat and hate going toward him because, it's the why you hate me. It's like, don't hate me because I'm beautiful type of thing. You know what I mean? Whereas there's a lot of people out there hearing a lot of things, and, there's a lot of people that probably don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain trainers, there's certain people who have fighters that are around, around that weight. And it's like, man, he ain't done nothing. He ain't fought this guy, he ain't fought that guy. And they don't really want to give him that anointing of being the next great thing just off of who he's faced, which I understand. But the difficulty of, and I was saying this with Ant, we were talking about it. We actually had another podcast we were doing together, and a lot of people he did this, he didn't do that, he should have done this, and it was like crazy expectations for it, rightfully so. But when that guy and let me give this guy credit, he was really good defensively and had really good footwork and understood range very well. His problem was when he got in there, he realized I can't win. Regardless of what most people may think, he got in there and realized I can't win this fight. I'm going to do the best I can while I'm here, but I'm going to survive. He was moving a hell of a lot. For a person that wanted to win, he was moving too much. It's like if you look at Arislan Lara, even Arislan Lara, when he moved and he was doing his thing, in the past, and a lot of people say, oh, he runs, he does all this. He was still putting his hands on the guy. This guy was throwing punches. It was so rare that Boots would run into the shots because he wasn't expecting them to throw any punches because that was just how the fight was going. It's so unreal, the hate and the flack that he got based off of that performance. I'm not saying it was the greatest showing that he's ever had, but he won every minute of every round. It was very rare that he had any moments in the fight that he was second best. You know what I mean? And it's just unfortunate that even though I admit there were some, problems with the range, but the reason is because regardless of whether a guy's throwing punches or not, you still have to kind of honor the fact that there's a possibility the guy's going to throw a punch. And then you also have to understand this guy's footwork was pretty damn good. He's a professional for one, but he proved something to me. That guy is not only was he had a pretty good chin also because he took some shots, but he also really, really understood range. He really knew how to move. He knew how to get to the open side. He knew how to get to a safety zone. His head was put in the right place. Multiple different scenarios. Whereas I don't think that there's guys that are, revered as one of the top guys or the top guy or some of the top guys would be able to compete defensively like he did in that fight. You know what I mean? So I think, I don't want to say it's unfair because there's a lot of high praise for Boots, including myself and a lot of other guys that I know of. And we, most for the most part, most of us. So I'm not going to say it wasn't something that was below par for a guy like him and in that situation. However, if anyone else gave that performance against that guy and did what he did and won every moment of the round, there would be no complaints. But then again, like I said, he's basically talked about as the next big thing. So, him not getting a knockout on a guy who's virtually unknown does look bad. But you don't fight on paper, you fight in the ring. So this guy came out and understood what he needed to do to survive. He made himself a very difficult target, and he was sharp and ready to go. It just, and unfortunately for Boots, he had to deal with that. And you could see there was so much pressure on him to do well that he was trying to do different things. He was practicing different things, working, trying to figure out something to do to get this guy out of there. Even there was at times the guy was moving so much that he actually reached out and tried to hold the guy there. You know what I mean? So he can get some shots off. But, it's just unfortunate. I think he's still, the best prospect in the world. At this point, he's not a prospect anymore. He's a contender. So he's one of the best contenders in the world. And pretty soon he's going to have an opportunity to prove it against the top guys. But up to this point, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, hey, I don't think he's what he was saying. He was going, everybody says he's going to be, off of one performance. And I've seen that. I've seen so many people say different things like that about great fighters, and it's fine. You know what I mean? He's just going to have to find a way to prove it and look better next time.
We'll see. 30-0 now. Still only about 2 to 3 recognizable names on that record. He does now hold the interim IBF world title. Unfortunately, it looks like the Errol Spence fight isn't going to be happening, anytime in the very near future. Errol Spence obviously moving to 154 for his next fight. It looks like he's going to be taking on Keith Thurman and then moving back down. Obviously, that Terence Crawford fight is there, but I don't know. I just think you put Chakadzian in with Spence, in with Crawford, in with Virgil Ortiz. I don't know if it goes 12.
Maybe I would say with Spence, probably maybe not, depending. But it's when I see, this is the thing that people don't understand. Footwork and movement, if he utilizes that kind of movement with any of those guys, with the idea of just going the distance, do you know how hard it is to stop someone who just doesn't want to get stopped? It is extreme. I've had to deal with this on the way up in a 6-round fight, let alone a 12, but a 6-round fight. And even you were at one, Joe, and there was a guy by the name of Marcelo Nascimento, been knocked out. Even, in fact, after that fight, he got knocked out by Dillian White. He was so intent on not being stopped that literally there might have been in that fight 3 minutes of the entire fight, and I think it was an 8-rounder, that he didn't clinch me. He had his arms around me almost the entire fight, and what times he didn't, he was moving away. And he had reasonable punching power. So I couldn't just walk straight in. And there was a time that I ran into a right hand because I was just trying to get him out of there. Because all the pressure, I got to knock him out. And that's the thing that people forget about this whole fight with Boots as well, is that you have to knock him out. It's unrealistic pressure that you have put on yourself, or that people have put on you too. And for you to get in there and that's all you're trying for is going to hurt your performance. That's a fact.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't think Chikadzian goes the distance with those three, but whatever. It is what it is. Main event time. Gervonta Tank Davis now 28-0. Another knockout for him. He did deliver round 9, the TKO against Hector Luis Garcia. It's now 16-1. It was for the WBA lightweight world title. I think that was Davis's title. I didn't think there was any belt on the line, actually, but obviously it says that there was, so there must have been. Do you know what? I know it was just the other day, but my memory of this fight is not really there. I can't really remember. I mean, obviously Gervonta.
Really?
Yeah, I remember the stoppage. Obviously, it come to an end so quick, and I think he'd gone back to the wrong corner at one point, and they did the right thing to obviously stop it. They stopped it in between rounds, didn't they?
Yeah. He said he stopped it. He said, "Nah, I'm good."
Was it him? Okay. Because I know he didn't speak like proper English, but obviously you're so good at speaking Spanish these days, so you must have picked that up. But he took some absolute bombs, Eddie, and it looked like at one point he was just going to be taking them all night. But obviously they did eventually catch up with him. But I can't remember the majority of the fight. It was late, I can't remember it.
Yeah, you were probably tired. It was definitely late for you. But, early on, he was doing well, timing different shots. You could tell it. You could see the amateur background. He was about to have about 400 amateur fights. You could see he's a talented dude. He understood range. He was tough. Smart, really smart fighter. Good IQ. Really good IQ. But you could just see the cream rising to the top as the fight went on. And Tank was just too explosive and too fast for him. You know what I mean? After the first 3 to 4 rounds, you see Tank start landing those quick combinations, and then I remember I think it was 6 or 7 that he landed a hell of a quick, nice, sharp combination. It was like, damn. And the guy took the shots really well. He didn't look like he was gonna waver. And I was thinking like, oh, he might have a long night with this guy, because the guy, like I said, the guy was doing landed some good shots. He actually landed one on the back of the head, overhand kind of like left, and he threw it, and Tank tried to turn, like, kind of shoulder rod it and got caught with it on the back of the head. But I mean, for the most part, he was doing really well early. But Tank, as the fight went on, he started really, like, you could see like the speed, even the jab. And remember, these are two southpaws, so it's an awkward thing for a southpaw to fight a guy that fits pretty even with them. Southpaw for a southpaw is kind of like righty versus righty, but southpaws almost never fight left-handed guys. So a southpaw is more weird for another southpaw than for a right-handed fighter. So there was things that really impressed me by Tank too in there, is being that he doesn't fight many southpaws, obviously. He was doing a hell of a job shoulder rolling straight left hands from the guy and then coming back with his own and then check hooking and things like that, which, like I said, is not normally a thing he'll do because him, normally being he's a southpaw fighting a right-hander most of the time. So it was really impressive how he was able to adapt to fighting a southpaw, but not only a southpaw, a really good, high IQ, talented southpaw. It's just he really upped his game. You could just see Tank is the full package. I still don't know if he'll be able to do that to Shakur or even Devin Haney quite like that, but he always has that eraser and that explosive speed too. So I mean, he'll be in any of these fights. I mean, it's just it was a really good performance. I think Tank showed the class. I think he was the class of the whole show. I think he was a main event for a reason, and he really showed it. It was a hell of a performance, in my opinion.
Well, there we go. That brings the review part to a close. In part one, Eddie's done more talking than me, which I think is probably the only time that's ever happened. So there we go. Pearls of wisdom. He's finally actually doing some work here. I mean, he's got that new car because of the podcast. It's finally doing some work.
Damn right.
Just kidding, of course. But that wraps up part one. The final thing for me to do in this part is to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former middleweight world title challenger. It is, of course, Mr. Liam Williams. Liam, welcome back on the show, my man, and Happy New Year to you.
Hello, mate. Happy New Year. Hope everything's well with you. Yeah, mate. All good. Thanks, yeah.
No problem, my man. Good to have you back on. So, Liam, we last spoke in December 2021. It was a few weeks before the Eubank fight. Let's just touch on that briefly. What seemed to go wrong there, Liam? I was really quite surprised with how the fight played out.
Yes, mate. Obviously, going off the result, it didn't go the way we wanted it to, but it was, I hate to say this really because I'm not one to make excuses and I don't like going that way about things, but, I just didn't perform that night. I did have some things which were bothering me in the lead up to the fight and whatnot, which obviously I'm not actually going to tell people that before the fight, am I? So, it was, I honestly feel that I could have beat Eubank if I was at my best, but, it just weren't my night, really.
And my last real question on the Eubank fight, obviously I wanted to ask, what was his power like? Because some of those shots that you were down off, it's easy for me to say from my sofa, but they didn't necessarily look like massive shots. I could be wrong.
No, you're bang on, mate, to be honest with you, and that's part of the reason why I just said to you, things going wrong in the lead up and stuff. Like I haven't really told many people, but I'm guessing it's going to get out there anyway. But so basically, I was sparring for maybe like 4 weeks before the fight, and I took an elbow in the head and I had concussion. And I was still carrying that into the fight, which explains the way I was going down and stuff. I was getting put down off not very big shots at all, to be honest with you, and I weren't actually hurt, but you just scrambling my senses, and I weren't quite with it as many people probably would have seen and noticed.
Oh man, that's a real shame because it didn't look like you in there, but no, thanks for clearing that up. Gutted for you there.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, mate, I don't want any. Feeling sorry for me. I don't give a shit about that because, it was my choice. I got told directly, you shouldn't really fight. It's not really ideal. It's probably even a little bit dangerous, Yeah. But me being me, no, fuck that. I'm gonna fight anyway. So, just one of them things, mate. I don't regret that. Probably if I could go back, I'd probably do it all again. But, that's just me.
And again, when we last spoke, you were training under Adam Booth. I'm going to misquote you slightly, but you said something to the nature of Adam Booth was I think you said like the best trainer you've ever trained with. However, obviously after that, you decided to part ways with him. You went back to where it all began with Gary Lockett back in Wales. What happened there, Liam?
Yeah, mate, and I still stand by them comments, to be honest with you. I think Adam Booth is, if not, the best in Britain, he's certainly one of them, along with, I believe, my current trainer, which is Gary Lockett. Obviously, I always rated Gary in it because, I was with him for years before I moved elsewhere. I just think the main thing for me was I needed to take it back to basics, and it started becoming a bit of a chore for me. I wasn't enjoying myself. I was away from home all the time. And it just it wasn't enjoyable for me anymore, No,
I understand that. We haven't always seen people leave Adam Booth's gym and remain on good terms, unfortunately. But are you guys cool?
Yeah, very good, man. I still speak to Adam.
Good.
The reason why we don't, I wouldn't have left on bad terms anyway. I think part of the reason why, we still friends and stuff is I think he understood my situation. Obviously, I thought he was a great trainer. I enjoyed being there with him and the boys, all good boys and great company and whatnot. But I just needed to get back to myself and, get back home train. I was unhappy, really.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That's fine. So as you say, needed a bit of a reset kind of thing, going back to basics as well with Gary Lockett. You did close the year on a high, though, by stopping Nizar Trimech. Now, those who may not know who Trimech is, obviously not the most known name in boxing, but just to put it into perspective, Trimech drew with Kamil Szeremeta in Poland, which usually indicates in Szeremeta's backyard that he probably did enough to win, and Szeremeta had only been beaten in the past by Munguia and Golovkin, so Trimech as well put in a good performance there, and his only stoppage defeat prior to your fight with him was when he got stopped in Russia by Pavel Silyagin. Silyagin pulled him up to super middleweight as well for that one and got him out in 6 rounds. You got him out in just 2 rounds. A bit of a backstory there, but is that what you needed, Liam, to not only end the year on a high, but to bounce back positively from the Eubank fight?
Yeah, mate, definitely. As you said, I watched that fight with I forgot his name again. I was the Polish guy's name. The Polish.
Szeremeta.
Szeremeta, yeah, that's the one. Sorry. Kamil Szeremeta. I watched that fight, and Nizar, the guy I boxed, he would have beat him, and the other guy had a bit of a lucky favoured because he was at home and whatnot. He would have beat him anywhere else in the world, I believe. Going back to your question, it's like I do think I needed. That was a little bit of a reset for me. It was the first one, was being back with Gary. It was a nice way to finish the year,
And just coming down to my final few questions, I want to try and whiz through these. I know we're strapped for time a bit. What is next on your radar, Liam? Obviously, you're still world ranked with the WBC, of course, but what's the immediate plan for this year?
I'm not too sure, mate. I'm hoping to box. I'm on the box maybe late March, April. I'm not really totally sure, if I'm honest, but I know it's going to be sometime within the next 2 to 3 months. I don't know who, I don't know where, but there is a little bit of talks, I think, maybe regarding Felix Cash. There's another one, Armour Williams.
Okay.
I think something's been mentioned there. I think that'll be a good fight. He's obviously coming through and they're giving him a bit of a push. I think there's a lot of good challenges there, definitely.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask what you thought of the current crop in the UK coming through at the moment. Obviously, the likes of Hamza Shiraz, Denzel Bentley, Felix Cash. I was going to ask if maybe you felt you might be slightly above where they're at the minute.
100%. I think the middleweights on fire at the moment. You know, there's a lot of good people there at a good level and also coming through. Yeah, in terms of them fights, like, they're all good fights, to be honest with you, but me personally, I don't know whether you or anybody else would agree. I think I'm slightly above that. I think, you know, they probably need a couple more fights. I think I've boxed at a higher level and probably deserve to be boxing at a higher level at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And of course, I must ask, you've shared the ring with both Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Smith. They'll be clashing January 21st. I can't think of anyone better to ask on how the fight will go.
I got a feeling. Smith is going to pull it off because you know, he's very gritty and gutsy. You know, he really puts in a good shift every fight. Works well to the body. I don't think Eubank takes the best body shot. Yeah, I just think the work rate and determination will. I personally think is going to edge it for Smith.
Okay, and will you be tuning in?
Yes, mate. Well, I'm hoping I might even be there to watch live.
Lovely, lovely. It's a fight that me personally, I just can't see a knockout. I think it 1,000,000% goes the distance. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think it's going to go the distance as well.
Yeah.
I can't really see any of them being knocked out or stopped by each other, you know.
Yeah, me neither. And just finally, Liam, if you've got any closing words just to the listeners, we haven't had you on just over a year. Like I say, great to have you back on. If you want to close out this interview with any message, take it away, my man.
Yeah, no, just a basic message, mate. Thanks for everyone's support and obviously continued support. And there's a lot more to come, so keep tuning in.
Absolutely. Listen, Liam, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, my man. I appreciate your time and your honesty. Thanks again for coming on, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks very much, mate. Take care.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start here with this one. Boxer have announced this card. It's going to be taking place February the 11th at the OVO Wembley Arena. Adam Azim gets in with the undefeated South American Santos Reyes, who's 12-0 with 3 KOs. On the undercard of that fight, obviously live on Sky Sports, we're going to see Caroline Dubois get in with Yamila Abelaneda, who is 15-5 with a draw. We're also going to see a really good fight for the English middleweight title between Tyler Denny, coming off that brilliant win against Bradley Ray. He gets in with Brad Pauls, who's undefeated 16-0. Vidal Riley on the card as well there. So again, the date for that is February the 11th, a Saturday. Elsewhere, we have this one as well. It's been announced by Matchroom. We're going to see, this is just the following week after that one, February 18th, we're going to see Lee Wood getting with Maurizio Lara there for Wood's WBA featherweight world title. Oh boy, it's going to be a crazy fight, that one. It goes down in Nottingham. I think it's a fight we all knew was, due to be announced soon. It is now official, and yeah, it's just going to be a mad fight. I think it's a tough one, really, for Lee Wood. I don't think it's like a lose-lose kind of fight, really, I think, for him. But yeah, hopefully he's getting paid enough. It should be exciting while it lasts. He was in Fight of the Year 2022, being dropped and coming back. Maybe we'll see what he can do against Maurizio Lara. And yeah, on the undercard of that fight as well, we're going to see a couple good fights. We're going to see Dalton Smith getting in with Billy Allington. That's a defence of his British super lightweight title. We're also going to see Gary Cully get in with Wilfredo Flores from the USA, who's 10-0 with 1 draw. That's for the vacant WBA Intercontinental. We're going to see Chevon Clark, I've forgotten how it's said, 4-0, 4 KOs. He gets in with Dex Spellman. That's a good step up there for just his 5th fight. Really big fan of that one. We're going to see Gamal Yafai get in with Diego Alberto Ruiz. I've definitely seen that name somewhere else. Oh gosh, I've got a feeling that he might have sprung an upset over someone. Could be wrong. Diego Alberto Ruiz, I'll look at that in a minute, against Gamal Yafai. We're going to see Kieran Conway get in with Jorge Silva of Portugal. That's about it, really, for that undercard, and that is about it for that piece of news. I do just want to quickly check Gamal Yafai. I want to look at that opponent because I'm sure I've definitely seen that name before. Diego Alberto Ruiz, 23-6 with a draw. Been in there with Jack Bateson. He was the guy that drew with Lee McGregor. There we go. He's been on the scene many times. Been in the UK many times. Boxed Shabazz Massoud. Like I say, Lee McGregor, Jack Bateson, Michael Conlon. Okay. Good chance here for Gamal Yafai to look good. Coming back, I think, for the first time. I think he might have boxed once after losing to Jason Cunningham, but it'd be good to see him back. Okay, that's it for the news. Like I say, moving on to the preview part. It's not going to be long now. We've got 3 cards to go over. This one takes place on Saturday at the Bruce Convention Center in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, USA. Over here, friend of the show, Tyler Tomlin, 13-1. It's an 8-rounder. He gets in with Gustavo Vittori, who's 27-12 with a draw. All the best there to Tyler Tomlin, good guy. I'm not sure if he's still with Lou DiBella. Moving out now to pretty much the main card of the weekend. It's a really good card, actually. There's 3 fights on the card that are pretty much all 50-50s. There might even be 1 or 2 more 50-50s deeper down the card, but these are the 3. It's going to be live on ESPN Plus. It's at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York, USA. It's a top-ranked show. Heavyweight, undefeated heavyweight from Italy, Guido Vianello, 10-0 with a draw, gets in with Jonathan Rice, 15-6 with a draw. Jonathan Rice, I mean, he's upset a couple of prospects, obviously, namely in recent times Michael Coffey. That would be a really good fight. That's an absolute 50-50. The bookies cannot split them. I wish that it wasn't a 50-50 fight in terms of the odds, because I would probably bet on the underdog, because I really don't know how that one's going to go. But I think Jonathan Rice might be, I don't know. I'm really going to sit on the fence. Another good undercard fight that's pretty much a 50-50. Adam Blue Nose Lopez, 16-3 in a 10-rounder against Abraham Nova, 21-1. And the main event, another really good fight, Eddie. Efia Jagba, 16-1, gets in with Stefan Shaw, who is 18-0. It's over 10 rounds. Stefan Shaw is the favourite in that fight there. Efia Jagba expected to lose despite being in the home corner.
Wow. I don't know about the other kid, Stephen Shaw, I think you said.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know much about him. And he's supposed to be the attraction. Well, I don't say the attraction, but the main guy in the fight. So I mean, I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Efia Jagba, they know something that we don't, or they really believe in what he can do. Because I mean, I don't know. They obviously know more about this guy than I do for them taking this fight. And if you're going to take a fight with an undefeated guy, you should know everything you need to know about him. Unfortunately, though, when you look back at my career, I've taken fights with guys who wasn't necessarily undefeated, but had 1 loss, and I almost knew nothing about him. So yeah, there's times where fighters just believe a little bit too much in what they can do, and it's not even so much that. I think sometimes it's just you feel like you just got to either I'm sorry for saying it, but shit to get off the pot. You know what I mean? You got to do something, and there's pressure coming from different places saying, hey, you gotta fight, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Whether you're ready or not, or whether you feel like you know enough about the guy or not, any of those things could be the reason why he took this fight. I don't know, but like you said, he's in the home corner. The guy's still the favorite. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of interested to hear the result if I don't get a chance to see it, which I'm probably not.
Yeah, I can't really find too much on the guy. Boxed in the amateurs against Charles Martin, boxed in the amateurs against a couple of other guys. But yeah, he is from Missouri, 30 years of age, 6'4", 18-0, 13 KOs, managed by David McWalter. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Got a TKO win in the 8th and final round against Joey DeWaco.
What? Oh snap! I didn't know that.
Joey DeWaco's finished at this point. That was just under a year ago. So 2022 version of DeWaco. I think DeWaco's pretty much finished at this point.
Can't disagree with that. Cannot disagree with that. It probably is.
Rydell Booker last time out went the distance with him. I don't know. Beat Jonathan Rice back in 2016 before he was on a heck of a run. I don't know. This is an interesting one here. I think I'm going to probably side with Effie Ajagba. And if he's the slight underdog, then perhaps there could be some money made there. But anyway, moving on to the final card. It takes place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Over here, it is not televised as far as I'm aware, but friend of the show, former world champion Mary McGee, 27-4. She finally makes her comeback, I believe, since losing to Chantel Cameron. I don't think she's fought since. She is having this fight here at welterweight over 6 rounds against Dahiana Santana. Or Dahiana Santana, I'm not sure how it's said. 40-13 is Santana. All the best there to friend of the show, Mary McGee, who I haven't spoke to for quite a while, but we got along really well, me and Mary McGee. Really cool character, but like I say, haven't spoke to her for quite a while, sadly. But yeah, all the best to everyone that we've mentioned throughout the show. In part 1, we did the review part. Eddie did more talking than me. Then we welcomed our special guest. In part 2, I did the news. We've just wrapped up the preview part just there. The final thing for me to do before we wrap up the show entirely is for me to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this brings episode 378 to a close. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge thank you to this week's special guest, the former middleweight world title challenger, Mr. Liam Williams. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. There has been one piece of news to mention as well whilst we've been recording the show, and the piece of news is that we're going to see a top-ranked show on March the 25th. That's a Saturday night. We're going to see former world champions Jose Ramirez and Richard Comey get it on there over 12 rounds. No belt on the line, I don't believe, for that one. On the undercard, the co-feature, we're going to see a unification at minimum weight. The minimum weight category for the females. We're going to see the WBA champion Sinisa Estrada collide with the WBC world champion Tina Ruprecht. That's about everything from myself, though. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.